The February 24th, 2021 meeting of the Long Branch City Council will now come to order. Roll call.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Here.
Mrs. Wittes,
Here.
Dr. Selly,
Here.
Mr. Vieira.
Here.
It's 4 present, 1 absent. I hereby certify this meeting has been published in the newspaper and adequate electronic notice has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and New Jersey Administrative Code, Title 5, Chapter 39, Section 1.5, Notice of Public Meetings as required by law.
We will now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Reading the approval of the previous minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Vieira.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
Consideration of ordinance, public hearing and final consideration.
Mr. President, you wanted to add Resolution 50 first?
I was going to do that before I open up to the public.
Okay, fine.
All right. Ordinance 5-21, ordinance amending chapter 325-44, schedule 18, restrictive parking. This ordinance was introduced on February 10th, 2021, and removes an handicap parking space in front of 233 Hamilton Avenue. That is no longer in use. I need a motion to the open public portion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make, please dial *9 on your phone, and a representative will call you by your last 3 digits of your phone number. When you are called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Caller whose phone number ends in 350, go ahead.
Yeah, Ernest McNally, born 301 2nd Avenue, Long Branch, live in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I joined the meeting at 7:31, and you're already. I thought the meeting starts at 7:30.
We opened up the meeting at 7:31, Mr. McNolly. That's when Will opened it up.
Oh, you did open it up at
Yes, I did.
7:31.
Yes,
Well,
we
maybe
did.
it took me a little. It took me a little time to get in, but you introduced. I missed the flag salute. I missed everything.
Oh, no, it was
Did you have
7:31
a
when
silent-
we opened it.
Did you have a silent prayer and the flag salute?
We had a flag salute, yes, not a flag salute. We had a pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance. Okay. Did you do a silent prayer or anything?
No,
Oh, you don't do that anymore.
I don't think we ever
Oh,
did
that's
it.
right. We're closing all the churches and stuff in Long Branch. I forgot. No more
McNolly,
prayers.
let's keep this to the
Well, it is.
ordinance.
You're supposed to run the meeting a certain way. You always used to have a moment of silence. That's gone now too. What's left? Now we're going to get rid of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. McNolly, is this, we're calling about the ordinance?
Yeah, for the handicap. That's right.
Ordinance 521?
That's exactly correct. So you're taking away a handicap that's not used, correct?
Correct.
Right. Did that person move?
Yes.
Did they move to Long Branch?
No, I did not.
You know what? How do I invite everybody into my question? Hi, Councilman Selly. I can't. Sometimes I think we all get along, but not really. So where did the person move to?
No idea.
I moved
No
out of
idea.
state.
They moved out. Okay, good.
No.
So
I
the
said
point
I
is,
moved out of
the
state.
point is, it's a known fact how many handicap spots there are, or rather, how many parking spots there are in Long Branch. Somebody figured it out. And somebody has to figure out if we meet the state standards, which means if you lose a handicapped person, that may still relate to the fact that you still need one somewhere else.
No, it's got nothing to do with that, and there isn't a state standard for on-street parking for handicap, so there isn't one. So that's not true.
Council. Oh, so there's no standard in the city or in the state or in the county for the amount of handicap relative to a city like Long Branch.
None.
In other words, whatever you develop and you make parking, you don't have to have
That's
a
different.
prescribed amount.
That's different. So if you have a development, there are development standards about how much handicap parking there is, but this is on-street parking. So there is no standard for how much handicap parking there is in a city or a town. That's only if, if you build a shopping center and it's X number of square feet.
I understand.
Parking
I understand. And that's why being born, and I come to Long Branch a lot, right? Being born, and I have a handicap placard. And that's why in Long Branch, it's harder and harder to find handicap parking on public streets. Just for the reason that you said, because you're only doing it like in Pier Village and places like that. But for the rest of the people, you're not doing it unless somebody applies. And that's not fair, because how do you invite out-of-town Monmouth County handicap people to come in and shop and you don't provide them with spaces because you don't have to? So, to me, that's handicap parking, egg on your face, because it's not the law, but you're certainly disregarding and disrespecting a group of citizens in the county and the state who want to come to Long Branch and can't find anything in the street. And I know myself on Ocean Avenue, you have to park in Seabright handicap to come to Long Branch. And maybe you're proud of that, but I don't think you should be. So I think that whenever you lose one, that somehow there should be a hearing as to maybe moving it. Maybe moving it to a public street like Ocean Avenue or 2nd Avenue. At least give the public a chance to say something other than to say, well, the person moved out of state, so there it goes. Because you could be sure if that person lived in Long Branch and was in a home and had parking on the street, that a lot of people use that. Meaning there's a lot of need for handicap parking on public streets, just not everybody applies. So, you're taking away a need. It's okay. You have a right to do it. But I think you should, be a little bit more mindful of the public and even the guests that come to Long Branch that are handicapped, and realize that if you ride around on public streets in Long Branch, for a handicap, it's chaos. There's almost nothing. So I don't think you want to be known for that, but that's my comment. Thank you. Hey, wait a minute. This isn't the public portion.
No, it's not. It's
No,
about the
this is just the
ordinance.
ordinance.
Oh, thank
Thank you,
goodness.
Mr. Good timing, Mr. McNolly. Thank you. Do we have anybody else, Will?
No other hands raised, sir.
I need a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is the third reading of ordinance 5-21, title ordinance amending chapter 325-44, schedule 18, restricted parking. I need a motion to adopt on the third and the final and advertise according to law.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
That's 4 yes and 1 absent.
Ordinance for introduction. This is the first reading of ordinance 3-21, titled ordinance amending chapter 345 of the Code of the City of Long Branch, revising redevelopment regulations for the Transit Village District, amended. This is an ordinance was introduced on January 13th and tabled by the council on January 27th because it was in need of further revisions. I need a motion to introduce this amended ordinance onto first reading, advertise and post according to law. The public hearing will take place at the later date following approval of this ordinance by the planning board and statutory notification of the affected property owners.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
yes,
Dr. Selly,
yes,
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes and 1 absent.
Before I open the public portion, we had a few questions about Seaview Towers. I'm going to let our city attorney and our city engineer do some explanations on the Seaview Towers. Mr. Rayno?
Thank you, Council President. As all the members of the public know, and as council certainly has been informed as we go day to day, the demolition of the south tower at the Seaview Towers has begun. And we wanted to make sure that the public certainly understands that this process is done strictly under the guidelines established by the state of New Jersey, that there are that both the Department of Labor and to some extent the Department of Environmental Protection are involved in the regulation of demolitions, the asbestos part of it being specifically under the Department of Labor. Those agencies, certainly the Department of Labor is out at the site frequently. There are air monitorings that are done 24 hours a day, and on a daily basis, we receive air monitoring reports. We've received engineering and asbestos reports for the building. In our interaction with the Department of Labor, and we have been told that the demolition is being done in accordance with their guidelines and all of their permits. I asked the city engineer to take a look at some of the engineering reports and the air monitoring reports that have been submitted. And she'll be able to go through them in a little bit more detail than I just did. The other thing that I wanted the council to know is that we've expanded the imminent hazard declaration to include the North Tower. The property owner is about to begin the process of notifying adjoining landowners that they are going to take that tower next after this tower. That is something that the city has been insisting upon from the beginning, and we're pleased to report that is going to happen. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Newman now.
Thanks, Mr. Raynon. So just to follow up, on behalf of the city, I did review the building reports as well as the asbestos analysis that was submitted for the tower buildings. I can report that there is little to no reports of asbestos in the South Tower, and that any potential was a non-friable substance, which is not airborne. It's typically like the glue that is used on tiling for floors. Out of an abundance of caution, they are proceeding as though there is a potential for asbestos on the site, which is why there are environmental controls, which again are regulated by the state and specifically the Department of Labor. They did add this week a mister on the site to provide some more enhancements. Air quality, as was reported, the measures are taken along the perimeter of the site in various locations. Those are provided to us. I had the opportunity to review those. As well as follow up, and can confirm the Department of Labor is on site. They are reviewing all of this information, and that there are no violations on the property as it relates to the demolition.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. We have a resolution that was added to tonight's agenda, Resolution 50-21. Mr. Clerk, could you read that resolution for us, please?
Yes. It's a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Long Branch terminating Long Branch Partners LLC designation as redeveloper and redevelopment agreement therewith.
Council President, thank you. This is a matter that was discussed in closed session, and administration asked that it be put on the agenda tonight. Everybody is familiar with the long story concerning this Lower Broadway project. I know that council is aware of the fact that last June we terminated I guess there was a request to transfer the property to another developer, and that request was granted, but it was never the redevelopment agreement was never signed. The project was never started. We rescinded that resolution. At the time, we also put the property owner, who is the designated developer, on notice that they were in violation of their redevelopment agreement because they had not commenced the development in accordance with the timeframes in the project schedule, nor nor did they provide us with an amended project schedule as they would have been required to do under the amended developers agreement. We believe that we have given them plenty of time to get this project off the ground, and the administration feels that the time has come to terminate this agreement and to basically go back to the drawing board. The property owner is the property owner, but we feel at this point in time that terminating this agreement is in the city's best interest. It will allow us, as we have been saying for the last year, to go back and take a relook at this project, a project that was planned and conceived 10 years ago in a different economy, in different circumstances in the city. And we're asking the council to add that item to the agenda tonight and approve it. This would terminate the redevelopment agreement and the tax abatement.
Thank you, Mr. Raynon. I need a motion to open the public portion. The meet-
We need a motion. We need a motion and a vote to add it to the agenda.
Okay, I need a motion to add resolution 50-21 to the agenda.
So moved.
second,
All in favor? Roll call, please. Jeff? You're
Jeff,
muted,
you're on mute,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Winnis,
yes,
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes,
That's 4 ayes, 1 absent.
thank you. I need a motion to open the public portion of the meeting for all comments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
aye,
Opposed? If any member of the public has any comments to make, please dial *9 on your phone, and the representative will call you by your last 3 digits of your phone number. When you are called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Caller whose phone number ends in 350. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ernest Nagoli, born 301 2nd Avenue, live in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I'm not sure how I became first in this, but I really didn't want to be, but here I am. So I'll just pick up with asking that I please not be spoken over or interrupted. And I'd like to start out by going back at least to the Chief Roebuck issue that I think the city is skirting and covering up all the things that he did that fateful night in the council meeting, unlawfully arresting a citizen at an open public meeting, impersonating an officer, false arrest, tampering with police reports, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the city's response is always the same. Well, let's wait and see if we get sued, and let's not do anything about it. And let's just give Chief Roebuck let's make him a chief from a public safety director when he committed that crime as a civilian. Let's promote him. And let's give him $250,000. Yeah, so he could buy more mansions all over the country for doing the worst job in Long Branch history. By the way, look at the internal crime, corruption, drugs, sex offense, pedophilia, shootings, wife beatings going on in the Long Branch Police Department. And you're covering everything up. You got a new safety director who's going to cover everything up. A city attorney who says, God, sue us, right? We're going to fight it vigorously. You go ahead, Mr. Raynon. You fight for Joyce Jr., who hand-raped a national hero, Mr. Patrick King's brother's daughter, in front of your slug police, firemen, and city officials when she was screaming for help, when that monster hand-raped her and more. And you're going to say, oh, we're going to vigorously fight it. Yeah, that's where you came from, Mr. Raynon, probably from a Frank Pallone appointment in some northern Jersey town. Really? Why don't you help the victim's family? You're going to fight it. And all these pedophiles in the schools. Look what you're doing. I mean, employees, you're covering everything up. Every day, a science teacher, pedophilia, a technology guy, Kavanaugh, assaulting underage females, a janitor, this, that. What are you running there? A Caligula school? And you think it's funny. You all think it's funny. And Mayor Pallone, remember? My kids walk safely to school. You should be quiet, Mayor. You're a hypocrite because from what I understand, you probably drive your kid to school. You're not going to let your kid walk through Long Branch streets with all the pedophiles, and half them are cops and firemen. And look at these firemen stealing stuff. And you got them in psychiatric hospitals in Florida claiming 9/11 disabilities made them steal all the equipment. Yeah, I'm talking about Todd Biter that you're covering up for. That's right, Mr. Renone. You guys are in a cover-up scam, and the public needs to figure out how and why. And this Seaview thing, forget it. I Oprah'd. I told you about it last May with the firemen there and the police there with all the stuff blowing around. We made reports. I gave them. You did nothing. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. 9 months. And at the last meeting, you said, we just found out about it. We're all over this. You know what? I don't know. For misrepresenting the public, there should be something, maybe like a recall or a fine, or how about being fired, like Ansel Grimarin was fired? Why not? Where have all these standards gone? And then you're belligerent to the public, like me, the nicest person in the world. Look how you talk to me. How much time do I have?
50 seconds.
50 seconds. What can I do with 50 seconds? Let me talk. let me talk. What are you going to do with all these superintendents of the school, like Salvatore, who left with all these crimes going on when they were there? How do they skate off to $250,000, $500,000 jobs? They let all this happen. They let it all happen and did nothing. Why? Because it's cops retired, cops' friends, firemen's friends. You know, you got to do something about this police department. Look at the picture. It's a demographic disaster. I don't know how you get away with it in Long Branch and the fire department. I mean, what are you running? Don't you follow demographics? Look at who lives in Long Branch and look at your police department and fire department. Where's the disconnect here? And then you're going to have George Jackson there. Well, they don't take the test. You know, you ought to go back to Eatontown, Mr. Whatever. You haven't done anything here, Mr. Jackson. You were supposed to help clean up this city. You sit there and do nothing.
5 minutes.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. McMullen.
Caller whose number ends in 198. Go ahead.
Mr. IT man, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch. On that little introduction on Seaview Towers, be assured we know the full story out here. We know the full story. And I urge the public with any concerns to call the appropriate agencies, the DEP, the federal EPA, the Department of Labor, and the Health Department of the county. To be continued. Another matter, at the last council meeting, I exposed the current ills of the Church of the President's Museum. Since that time, the museum has been non-communicative. No email responses, no answering of phones due to disconnected service, no 990 tax forms as required by law, no updated website, no current list of board members, no minutes of annual meetings, no budgets, no inventory of donated items, etc. Why would anyone in their right mind donate to this museum if there is no transparency? But what is worse, if it can get any worse, is the discovered con job the board members of the museum have pulled on the donors. The museum received a grant in February 2015, which expired 5 years after the signing. Of concern is that the grant funding restricts any construction that would threaten the structural integrity of the church. Certainly, the sale of the side yard and resulting construction so close to the church precluded the museum board from selling the side yard up to now. It clearly looks like the board waited out the prohibition. But as troubling is the concern that any future development on the side lot would continue to threaten the structural integrity of the church with or without the grant prohibition. Shameful of the museum board, to say the least. The board of the museum, by attempting to sell the side lot, are themselves an endangerment to the church. A request was additionally emailed to the museum board for a copy of the comparable sales analysis prepared by board member and listing realtor Todd Katz, which would have been used to support the $5 million list price. Again, no appraisal was provided. The museum board continues to discredit itself by failing to justify the sale price. It was Edgar Dinkelspiel who started the art shows on the museum property back in the late 60s. The art shows should have rightfully continued at that site these last 25 years, and marketed properly would have been utilized as a principal fundraising source. Requesting 1-minute notification. With the board attempting to sell off the side lot, there will no longer exist the space for revenue producing activities. The museum fundraisers
1 minute, sir, 1 minute.
are a bunch of fund losers. In conclusion, no organization, whether it's private, public, or charitable, should be immune from public scrutiny of their financial dealings. The museum has failed miserably in its singular mission to rehabilitate the Ocean Avenue property. All the photo ops of who's who's with their cheesy smiles, holding cocktails with one hand while slapping each other's backs with the other hand cannot gloss over this debacle. Edgar Dinkelspiel made restoration of the museum the focus of his golden years, and the gross incompetence and malfeasance as is currently displayed by the museum board is disgraceful.
Thank you, Mr. Lepore.
No other hands raised, sir.
Mr. Clerk, have you received any public comment by electronic mail or written letters?
No.
I need a motion to close the public participation portion of this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Applications. Seeing there none? Oh, wait a minute, I missed something. Yeah.
Resolutions as consent agenda.
Yeah,
Needs a mover and a second.
I got it. We could take this list of resolutions as a consent agenda. Roll call. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler, Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
Passes 4 ayes, 1 absent.
Applications. Seeing there none, we'll move on to the miscellaneous business for good of the order. Councilwoman Vogt.
Thank you, Council President. Just a few shout outs, if I may. We all know that February is Black History Month. Let me encourage everyone to make it a regular practice to check the Long Branch website, because there's really so much terrific information on that site. And what you'll see when you check it now is a celebration of Black History Month, and it was put together starring our children in Jacob's Ladder, who just did a magnificent job. So just a shout out to all of those kids and to the whole team of people who put that little production together. Just outstanding. Another group that I want to recognize is our HERES task force. Just as a reminder, The HERES Task Force is the mayor's task force on substance use disorders. It has been in existence ever since this administration came into office. This past week, one of the events that we do on a regular basis is what we call community breakfast. And we have a topic of importance in the whole field of addiction. We had a breakfast meeting this past week, and it actually was on the topic of recovery houses. But what was so impressive about it was we had 3 speakers, and those 3 speakers were all people in long-term recovery. And the way they opened up their hearts and told their stories of the challenges of recovery, you couldn't walk away from that meeting without just feeling so proud of them for the challenges they overcame, and just thinking of what we all can do to help everyone else who is dealing with these challenges. Please let me encourage you, when you see on Facebook any invitation for a HERES event, please, sign on and join this important work. Again, it was just so inspiring. So with that, my thanks to everyone who signed in tonight and joined us, and good 2 weeks until we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Vogt. Councilwoman Wittes?
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to inform the residents of Long Branch that we received a report from Mr. Graviano regarding some of the projects that the abandoned houses that have been taken down, the buildings. And I just wanted to publicly thank him for all his efforts, because it's not an easy task and it's ongoing, and just want to give him a shout out and say thank you. And also, please look at our website. There's spring football and also youth soccer. They're looking for children to sign up. So please take a look at that, so we can get our kids involved in sports again. And with that, I'd just like to say to everyone, please stay well and be safe. And thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wittes. Councilwoman Sally?
Good evening, everybody. I would just like to piggyback on what Dr. Vogt said. I did attend the HERES meeting. It was a very inspiring meeting. As she said, you walk away from that and you wonder how these young people continued to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and what they've done with their life. And they are supposed to be, and they are, they were challenged, and they met the challenge, and they did a good talk. It made, one of them made me, had tears in my eyes. But I would like to say, if you have an opportunity, make sure you get to hear what these people are saying, what they're trying to do with this HERES program. And with that, I would like to give a shout out to the Director of Public Safety. I've had several calls on how well the streets were plowed during the last 3 snowstorms. So Stan, thank you to your for your crew. I've had nothing to drink yet either, but I do want everybody to know I was proud of the way the streets were done, and thank you to all your men. And with that, my last comment, as always, wear your mask, stay safe and social distance, and stay well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sally. Mayor Pallone?
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. As many of you know, we've been trying very hard to get vaccination sites here in Long Branch for our residents. And we have just started working with the Visiting Nurse Association, the VNA, to vaccinate residents in the senior housing buildings and the senior center. Now, the vaccination site is at the Bucky James Community Center and is available by appointment only. As vaccines become available, the city hopes to expand opportunities for our residents to receive the vaccine right here in Long Branch. The city has a phone line dedicated for this Long Branch program. If you're a resident of Long Branch, you meet the state criteria of the vaccine, you can call the following phone number, 732-571-5694. Now, the phone line for right now will only be open this Friday, February 26th, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You'll be asked to give your name, phone number, and address. An employee will call you back when appointments become available so that you can fill out a registration form. We're doing this because we're anticipating a large call volume on Friday the 26th and will likely reach capacity. Future dates and times for when the phone line will be open will be posted on our website, longbranch.org, under announcements as the vaccine becomes more available. So please keep an eye on that. The last thing I wanted to mention was that tonight we passed a resolution to cancel the abatement and redevelopment agreement with Long Branch Partners on Lower Broadway. Simply put, Long Branch Partners did not meet many of the benchmarks we had asked of them with this agreement. We made a promise that we would hold these developers' feet to the fire, and if they did not hold up their end of the deal, that we would end our agreement. I want to mention that we are committed to the redevelopment of Lower Broadway, but we are not in the position to wait any longer with Long Branch Partners. And with that, I want to again thank you all for joining us tonight and have a great week.
Thank you, Mayor Pallone. And also, I want to thank everybody for signing in. And I also want to get the handout for our public works, for, as Councilwoman Sally said, beautiful job out there with the snow plowing. Did a great job cleaning our boardwalks today. There was a lot of ice on them. Thanks, Stan and your men. And I also want to assure the public, because Seaview Towers, as we have Mr. Raynone and Laura Newman explain, it's safe out there. We will not put any Long Branch resident in jeopardy. I walk that boardwalk every day. I feel safe. So I want to assure everybody that Seaview Towers is safe and all the precautionaries are being taken care of. And the city is doing everything that's supposed to be done. And with that, I want to say good night and thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.